Right, students, greetings of the day. Let's start with today's topic. But before going to the topic, I just want to conclude what we have studied till here. Okay. Basically, we have just completed our chapter number 2, that is acid, base, and soap. Okay. And in today's class, we are just going to conclude that whole topic with the help of back exercise question. Okay. So I'm just going to take the questions because we have already completed the chapter. And same as well, your doubts and queries would be asked. Okay. So please be focused and be attentive in your class. Today we will complete the chapter with the help of exercise. Okay. So let's begin. Let's begin with the first question that's given in your NCERT textbook. The first question is, okay, before going to the question, let me first tell you, bache, that the acid, base, and salt is basically based on 3 different topics. That is pH value. The second one is different properties of acid base. And the last one is your different salts, like the plaster of Paris, like the sodium chloride, or we have studied the copper sulfate solution and many more. Okay. So the whole NCERT question and the whole this chapter is being completely based on these 3 different topics. Okay. So now let's start with your first question. The first question is, a solution turns red litmus blue, its pH should be. The question is, a solution is turning red litmus to blue. And what should be its pH value? You know that very well, bache. Whenever we have started with the first topic, that there is known as an indicator which tells us what is acid and what is base. Okay. So if I'm talking about my indicators for litmus paper, if the litmus paper is blue and converting to red, that means there is acid. And if the red litmus is converting to blue, that means there is a base. So the question has been given that the red litmus is converting to blue litmus paper. That means there is presence of a base. Am I clear? Now, the presence of a base, that means the pH value must be greater than 7. You know that now very well. In our previous class, we have discussed this topic in very detail, that the pH value of acid is less than 7 and the pH value of base is always greater than 7. Okay. Now the options has been given 1, 4, 5, and 10. So the basically pH value greater than 7 is 10. So this was our first question. Okay. Now let's go to the second question, that is known as, a solution reacts with eggshell to give a gas that turns lime water milky. Okay. The question has been given that we have been taken the HCl solution and a solution that is converting, that is releasing a gas which is converting a lime water to milkiness. Now, bache, tell me one thing. Have we studied this topic, the milkiness of lime water? Yes, definitely. The milkiness of lime water was given by the topic by carbon dioxide. We know very well that the lime water is basically the calcium carbonate. Okay. And whenever the calcium carbonate is reacted with CO2, it converts into a milkiness. Okay. So this is the question, that which gas is present over there which can turn a lime water into milkiness. And the answer is carbon dioxide. Okay. Now further, if we have been putting off the equation further, the question is given that the reaction is further reacting with a solution to give that solution. That means the solution must contain something which contains carbon or something which contains HCl, hydrogen positive and Cl negative. Okay. So now let's start with the third question. The third question is given as 10 mole of a solution of NaOH is found to be completely neutralized by 8 mole of solution of HCl. That means, if I'm going to look the question, the third question is 10 ml of NaOH is reacting with 8 ml of HCl. Very important and very simple question, बच्चे. We have been taken a reaction of NaOH plus HCl. And you know that very well, when a strong acid and a strong base are reacting to each other, this is known as neutralization reaction. So whenever NaOH and HCl are reacting, they have been converted into NaCl plus water. That is salt and water. Okay. Now the question is, 10 ml of NaOH is reacting with 8 ml to neutralize it. If we are just going to double the solution of NaOH, that means 20 ml, how much HCl would be required to neutralize it? So this is very basic, like you can solve it even if you're in 7th, 8th standard. The question is, NaOH and HCl, they are reacting and they are giving us a neutralization salt. Now, if we are increasing the amount of NaOH, that means 20 ml, how much amount of HCl is required? Very same manner, if NaOH is doubled, HCl also have been doubled. Okay, so 8 ml would be converted into 16 ml. So our answer would be 16 ml. Okay, that's very simple and very important topic. Now let's move to the 4th question. Which one of the following type of medicines is used for treating indigestion? Okay, class, I have told you whenever we have studied our pH values method, what we have studied, that our pH value system tells us that our body, especially our stomach, is little bit acidic in nature. You know that now? That our stomach releases some HCl, that means it is acidic in nature. So its pH value is less than 7. Now, the topic is here that whenever we are taking some oily food or some fried food, what would happen? To digest it further, our stomach would release more kind of acid. Right? The more kind of acid our stomach would release to get it digested. So what would happen? The food would be digested, but the stomach has already produced extra acid. So this excess of acid has created indigestion in our stomach. That's the reason that we should avoid the oily and fried food. Right? So indigestion is due to oily and fried food, and the stomach has released extra acid. Now the question is, what medicine can be taken to indigestion to cure the indigestion? See, indigestion is due to acidity. So to cure acidity, what can we take? We should take the antacid. We should take the antacid, which is known as a medicine, which means anti-acid. The property of antacid is to just lower down the acidity, to just release the acidic property. And you know very well, I have given you example also. So the antacid example is milk of magnesia. Milk of magnesia. What is milk of magnesia? Magnesium hydroxide, MgOH twice, which is little bit basic in nature. Right? So this base is neutralizing the extra acid. This is known as antacid. Okay, class, very important and very simple topic. The whole topic we have been studying is based on neutralization reaction. Okay, so you can easily perform the question. Now let's move to our next question that is based on some chemical reaction. Let's see how does it happening. The question is, we have to write the word equation as well as the balance equation for the reaction taking place. So we have been given the name, and just with the name we have to write the equation name. So the equation in the form of chemical substance. So let's begin. The first question is, dilute sulfuric acid is reacting with zinc granules. Okay, so class, have you remembered? I have learned. I have taught you the first chapter. First chapter में याद है हमने ये study किया था that whenever we are taking a reaction, either it is in acidic form, either it is in basic form, doesn't matter. whenever we are putting a reaction, हमें ये mention करना है what is the state of the reactant. Sulfuric acid is liquid in nature and zinc is solid in nature. So this is our complete reaction. है ना जी? So the question here is dilute sulfuric acid is reacting with zinc granules. That means sulfuric acid is in liquid form and the zinc is in the solid form. So what's happening whenever we're reacting a metal with acid? This is the first property of metal that acid, that whenever a acid react with metal, it releases hydrogen gas. It releases hydrogen gas. So hydrogen gas would be released and zinc would react with the remaining sulfate. The H2 is in the gas form and the zinc sulfate is in the solid form. बन रही है जी बात? Very simple topic na? This is nothing. We have been just putting up or just covering up the previous lectures with the help of questions and exam. Okay. So now let's move with the second question. Dilute hydrochloric acid is reacting with magnesium ribbon. That means magnesium is given and it's reacting with dilute hydrochloric acid. Magnesium is reacting with hydrochloric acid. Okay, but this is the very same question that we have studied. The only difference is the acid in the previous equation was sulfuric acid and the acid in this equation is HCl. Both are the acid ना? और आपको याद होगा that we have taken that procedure कि जब भी हम acid लेते हैं, both have the same property. Doesn't matter कि हम कौन सा acid ले रहे हैं. इधर हम HCl ले रहे हैं, सल्फ्यूरिक एसिड और नाइट्रिक एसिड और एनीवन, सबके पास एक कॉमन प्रॉपर्टी होती है that is H positive. They can release their H positive, है ना? And that's why when they are reacting with a metal, they are releasing hydrogen gas. Okay, so what's happening? H2 gas would be released definitely, and if H2 gas is released, that means there should be 2 moles of HCl and magnesium chloride. So this is our balanced equation कि हमारा जो magnesium है that is reacting with 2 moles of HCl. Okay, now let's jump to our third question. Dilute sulfuric acid is reacting with aluminium powder. Dilute sulfuric acid is reacting with aluminium powder. Same as it is, H2 gas would be released, but this is known as our salt. We know that कि हमारा जो aluminium है, that has tendency to make 3 positive, that has the valency of 3 positive. In 9th class we have studied the valency topic ना? 9th class में हमने study किया था valency topic के बारे में कि हमारा जो aluminium है, that is a metal that is trivalent in nature. That means उसके पास tendency है 3 electrons को lose करने की या gain करने की. And same as it is sulfate 2 negative. और हमने ये भी study किया था कि इससे हम ऐसे complete करते हैं. The subscript is going to the lower one and this higher subscript is going to the lower one of sulfate. So Al2SO4 thrice. Okay, so that is our basic answer. But the reaction is quite obviously unbalanced. Why? Because here is 2 moles of aluminium and here is only 3 moles of sulfate. Okay, so what's happening? We are putting 2 aluminium plus 3 moles of H2SO4. Now the reaction is completely balanced. Okay, now same as it is, the last question is dilute hydrochloric acid is reacting with iron. That means there is again a metal which is reacting with HCl acid. So there is the same procedure, H2 gas would be released. You can easily solve the question. Now next move to our next question, that is question number 6. The question number 6 is compounds such as alcohols and glucose also contain hydrogen but are not categorized as acid. Describe an activity. Okay, so the question is based on experimental setup, है ना? हमें क्या बोला गया है that are glucose and alcohol, both these have the hydrogen ion over there but हम इनको acid नहीं बोलते. And the question is how can you prove that these are not acid even if they contain the H positive ions? Okay, so the question we have been given, the glucose and alcohol. Okay, now class, tell me one thing, what is the formula of glucose? It is C6H12O6 and alcohol scores it is CS3OH. ओके, अब हम ये बात बिल्कुल मान के चलते हैं कि इनके अंदर हाइड्रोजन आयन प्रेजेंट है. We agree with the topic, but the question is, yet they are not categorized as acid. इनके अंदर H positive ions हैं, हमें दिख रहा है, but इनको हम फिर भी acid नहीं बोलते. Why? The reason is whenever we dissolve them into water, they do not release H positive ions. उनके पास tendency नहीं है कि वो H positive ions को release करे. And what are acid? Suppose I'm talking about HCl, sulfuric acid. So both HCl and sulfuric acid on dissolving in water gets dissociated, gets broken down into H positive and Cl negative. Same as it is 2H positive plus sulfate ion. बन रही है बात? So these H positive are responsible for carrying the electricity. Okay, these H positive are responsible for their acidic nature. The first point. But अगर मैं इनको water के अंदर dissolve करूंगी, they would not dissociate any H positive ion. They would dissociate into CS3 positive plus OH negative. H positive तो आए ही, है ना? So these are not our acids. Now the question is, we need to prove this by an activity. So I have taken that activity. You must remember that whenever we put our solution into two cathodes and anodes, and we have put the solution, we have mixed them with a battery, and we have also put a bulb over there. Okay. So what happens, जब भी हम अपने एसिड इसके अंदर डिसॉल्व करते हैं तो बल्ब वुड ग्लो, बट अगर हम ग्लूकोज एंड अल्कोहल लेके चलते हैं, द बल्ब वुड नॉट ग्लो. This is the activity which proves that glucose and alcohol do not conduct electricity because they do not contain H positive. और क्योंकि उनके अंदर H positive ions dissociate नहीं होते, that means we can very well say that these are something which are not acidic. Okay, so this particular activity explain us that glucose and alcohol are not acidic in nature. Clear hai? Now next move to the next question. What is our next question? The question is, why does distilled water not conduct electricity whereas rainwater does? Okay, very important and very simple question. The question is, the rainwater and distilled water. We have been taken two different examples. The rainwater and the distilled water. Now the question is, we have been put the both water in two different beakers. The distilled water conduct the do not conduct the electricity, but the rainwater does conduct electricity. So how can we differentiate the both? Okay, so you have remembered that whenever I was completing this particular chapter with you, I have told you the electricity, the conductance of electricity is only due to movement of electrons. I'm again repeating, the conductance of electricity is due to movement of electrons or ions. I hope you have remembered that. Now, the rainwater is something which contains so many salts, whereas the distilled water is something which do not have any case of iron, any case of salt, because distilled water is pure water. है ना? So the rainwater, due to presence of so many ions, or we can say salts like sodium chloride, like potassium chloride, and many more, whenever they have been dissolved into water, they dissociate like Na positive plus Cl negative. These positive and negatively charged are known as ions, है ना? The cation and anion. Okay, so due to these ions, these the rainwater can conduct electricity because the ion would start moving, and when they would start moving, the electricity would start be conducting. But if I'm talking about the distilled water, there is not any kind of ion, so there is no conductance of electricity. I hope we have cleared the topic. Now let's move to our next question, which is also based on the same topic. That is, why do acid do not show acidic behavior in the absence of water? बच्चे till now you have got the point कि अभी तक जितने भी question we have been studied, everything is based on the same topic, that acid on dissolving into water show electricity, or glucose and alcohol on dissolving into water do not show electricity. What is the reason behind this? The only reason, the only topic which is based on acid and base is the ions, or we can say the H positive. Okay. So our next question is also based on the same topic. The question is, acid do not show acidic behavior in absence of water. Okay, so now you have must understood whenever we dissolve our acid into water, suppose this is water and we have been putting acid into it, like HCl or sulfuric acid or nitric acid, many more examples, whatever you want to take, you have been got that whenever we dissolve our acid into water, what happens over there? They have been start dissociating, like H positive, Cl negative, 2H positive plus sulfate ion. So the water is something which can easily dissociate our acid because they are also known as electrolytes. और electrolytes की property होती है that whenever we dissolve them into water, they start decomposing, they start dissociating into ions. Okay, so both are HCl, sulfuric acid, nitric acid, or many more acid, whatever you want to take, they start dissociating into H positive ions. Okay, and due to this H positive ions, there would be movement, and due to movement, there is electricity. There is conductance of electricity. Okay, so that's why they would show conductance, as well as due to H positive ion, they would show their acidic behavior. Okay, Ji. So the answer for the question is, in the absence of water, they do not dissociate into H positive ions, and due to absence of H positive ions, they would not show the acidic behavior. Okay, so this was the answer. Now, should we move to our next question? Definitely yes. The next question, we have been put with the 5 different solution, and we have been given the universal indicator. Whenever we have been given the universal indicator, we must keep that in mind, that universal indicator is always based on pH value. है ना? So let's move with our next question. Okay, the next question is, we have been taken with 5 different solutions. Suppose they have been given the name A, B, C, D, E, and each solution has different pH value. pH value equals to 4, 1, 11, 7, and 9. Okay, so very simple topic, very easy question. The question is, we have been taken 5 different solutions with different pH value. pH value is already been provided to us. Now the first question is, tell me which solution is neutral. We have to describe which solution is neutral. And we know that, bache, if pH value is equals to 7, that is neutral. If pH value is less than 7, it is acidic. If pH value is greater than 7, it is basic. These all topics we have studied in detail in our previous class. Okay, so the question is, which solution is neutral? We know very well that pH value is 7, so D is neutral. बन रही है बात? Same as it is, if we are going to move with our next question, Which compound is strongly alkaline? Which compound is strongly basic in nature? So strongly basic in nature, that means जितनी ज़्यादा pH value would be greater, उतना ज़्यादा he would be the basic. So this is something which is strongly basic or strongly alkaline. Yes, same as it is. The question is, which one is strongly acidic? So acidic means how much pH value is lower, strong it is the acid. Okay, so the low pH value is of B, the maximum. So it is strong acid. Strongest acid, I can say. Weakly acid and weakly alkaline. This is weakly acidic. And this is weakly base or weakly alkaline. Now we have been also given the question, arrange the pH in the increasing order of hydrogen ion concentration. That means we have been given 4 to 5 solution. We have given the pH value. We know that very well. The pH value is totally dependent upon hydrogen ion concentration. Now we have to arrange them in hydrogen ion concentration. Okay. So the hydrogen ion concentration is C has the minimum, then E, then D, then A, then B. कैसे पता चला हमें? The B has the lowest pH value. That means it has the highest H positive value. Na? The pH value is inversely proportional to H positive concentration. Okay? And same as it is, the C has the maximum pH value. तो यहाँ पे H positive ion की concentration बहुत कम है. Okay? So this was all about this question. Now should we move to our next question? Let me see how much time is left. Okay. I'm just going to finish the 3-4 question in very fast manner. The fresh milk has a pH of 6. How do you think that pH will change as it turns into curd? Explain your answer. Okay. So the fresh milk has pH equals to 6. And it is converting into curd. So tell me what would happen, what would the case if I am converting it into curd. But we know that very well, that whenever our milk is converting into curd, the lactose present in milk is converting to lactic acid. Hai? We have studied that in biology. In biology, we have studied that जो bacteria are over there, they can take place in fermentation. और जो बैक्टीरियाज होते हैं वो लैक्टोज को लैक्टिक एसिड में कन्वर्ट करते हैं, तभी जाके हमारा जो कर्ड है वो सेटअप होता है. ओके, सो देयर इज फॉर्मेशन ऑफ लैक्टिक एसिड व्हेनेवर आवर मिल्क इज कन्वर्टिंग टू कर्ड. So if there is lactic acid, that means the pH value would be lower down because the acid has the less pH value than 7. Okay, so what would be the answer? The answer is due to formation of lactic acid, the pH value would be lower down. Okay, next question is, the plaster of Paris should be stored in a moisture proof container. Explain why. Okay, very simple question and you know that very well. That plaster of Paris, POP, what is the formula of plaster of Paris? Copper sulfate into half mole of water. The question is, we should not contain them into a moisture container. यानी कोई ऐसा कंटेनर जिसके अंदर ऑलरेडी थोड़ा सा मॉइस्चर है, जिसके अंदर ऑलरेडी थोड़ा सा वाटर है. We should not put them. Why is the reason behind this? Because the copper sulfate into half mole of water, POP, would abstract the moisture and would convert into gypsum. That is copper sulfate, sorry, calcium sulfate from copper into 2 moles of water. Okay, so our plaster of Paris would be definitely wrong in nature. That would not make our toys, that would not be used to, for the doctors, that would be inappropriate for our use. That's why we should not put that into a moisture container. We should put them into a moisture-free container. Okay. All right, class, this was all about the questions. 1-2 questions have been left, but these are very simple. What is neutralization reaction? You know that. And the last question is, what are the important uses of washing soda and baking soda? We have studied that baking soda is used for making bread and molds, whereas washing soda is used for cleaning cleaning our clothes, we can say, and also it is used for removing the permanent hardness of wood. We have studied the topic very detailed. So these are very simple topics, very simple question. You can easily perform that. So this was all about by my side, class. If there is any kind of doubt or query, you can ask to me. We have been left with only 6 to 7 minutes. So if there is any kind of doubt or query, please ask to me. I'm open to the doubt and query. Yes, anyone, please raise your hand, or if you're allowed to unmute yourself, then please ask the question. Hello, sir, am I audible? Hello.
Hello. Yes, ma'am.